Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Chapter 14. We are going to be talking about the characteristics of plants. I'm guessing that some of these you know, some of them you may not know, and some of them you might remember. So here we go. Okay, the first characteristic of plants that we're going to be talking about today is that plants are autotrophs that make food by photosynthesis. Okay, autotroph, remember, means that they are making their own food. Photosynthesis, light is the source. Okay, and you can see in the diagram that there are all these different things that they have to have. Okay, water coming in by the roots, carbon dioxide going in the leaves, and what they will produce is glucose, which is a type of sugar, and they'll give oxygen off as a waste product. And you end up with this as the overall unbalanced equation. Okay, water and carbon dioxide go in, sugar, glucose, and oxygen come out. The sugar is the food both for the plant and for us if we eat the plant or something that the plant makes. Oxygen is what obviously we take in, and the plant takes in the carbon dioxide we breathe out. Okay, it is a balanced system. However, realize that at nighttime, the plant will take in oxygen and eat the food and give off carbon dioxide and water. So it's not that they're just giving us oxygen. Okay, second characteristic is that plants alternate by or reproduce by alternation of generations. It is similar to what we talked about with the protists, but it is a little bit different. It is still an alternation between sexual reproduction and asexual reproduction. Okay, so the asexual form of a plant is known as the sporophyte. Okay, the asexual form of the plant. The plant sometimes looks completely different in these different generations, by the way. You might not even recognize them. Now, the sporophyte, phyte, by the way, just means plant, phyte or phyto. The sporophyte reproduces by making spores. Nothing too strange there. Okay. Those spores, if you think about something like a fern producing what almost looks like a dust cloud, those would be the spores. Okay, other types of things produce with spores as well, but we're talking specifically about plants. Okay, now the spores, when they kind of land and grow and become a plant, the form that they're going to become is called the gametophyte. Okay, so this is the gamete plant. Remember, phytoplant. Now, the gametophyte is going to make the gametes, which are the sex cells, the sperm and the egg. Yes, plants have sperm and egg. Okay, when the sperm and egg combine, sometimes from one plant, sometimes from different plants, you will have a zygote, which is the combination of the sperm and egg that grows up and becomes the sporophyte. Okay, so it just keeps going around and around like that. Okay, third characteristic of plants, that their structure is built of rigid, strong cell walls. And those cell walls are made out of cellulose. Okay, you can see the photograph on the left. You can have very obvious cell walls. All the chloroplasts inside, we're going to talk about later. Okay, but you can see it's a very thick structure compared to the cell itself. Okay, and they're going to give a lot of strength to a plant. And part of how it's able to stay upright, for example. Okay, fourth characteristic of plants. The plant is covered by a cuticle. And if you look at the right-hand side, you can see they kind of drew it curled up a little bit. It's not actually curled up. But the cuticle is really just a layer primarily on the surface, usually the top surface of a leaf. And it is kind of a water-resistant or waterproof waxy layer. In the middle, you can see the cuticle because it is thin on the edges. You can see the light going through it. It's part of what makes things like aloe, as you see pictured, able to retain water. Okay, it traps the water inside so that the plant can grow in a dry environment. And on the far left, you see the water beaded up on a leaf. That is also from the cuticle that prevents too much moisture from getting inside the plant. So the cuticle primarily is dealing with moisture, either keeping it in or keeping it out of the plant and helping control the water levels. Okay? Okay, now generally when we're talking about plants, there are two main categories that we're going to talk about. We'll look at some subcategories later, but today, two main categories. The first classification of plants is what are called non-vascular plants. Okay, that means they have no internal passageways to transport materials inside the plant. You think about people, we have the cardiovascular system with all the blood vessels and things. They are missing, or not missing, they don't have the plant equivalent. They don't have vessels transporting things within them. Okay? The way they have to transport materials is only by diffusion, things soaking in over time. Now, because of that, they can't transport things very far or very fast. So all of the non-vascular plants you'll notice are going to be small. Things like moss, for example. Okay, what you are seeing are the three different categories, none of which is about an inch off the ground, other than the reproductive structures you see on the right. So all of these are going to be ground cover, very small things, primarily going to live where there's moisture. Okay, they are non-vascular. They don't have those passages in order to transport things. So transportation is slow. Okay, the plants that are in the next category is the category that you primarily think of when you think of as plants. And this is the vascular plants. These are the ones that have those passages on the inside. These are the ones like ferns, bamboo, flowers, grass, trees, corn, all of these different plants that you're used to seeing and interacting with and eating and all that type of thing. These are the vascular plants. We will later talk about what those different tissues and passageways are made out of and how they function. But right now, just realize those are the two main categories. And with the vascular plants, they can get a lot larger. You think about things like trees and even things like the sequoias or the redwoods out in California. They can get absolutely enormous. So those passageways make a big difference. There's also some other processes that allow them to transport things within those passages. Okay, we will continue talking about plants next time. So until then, have a good time.